That's what's going on. Welcome back. I'm Matt, and we're doing some more production stuff today. In the last couple of videos that I did, it was a lot of recording stuff. It was a lot of microphone choice, things like that. Today, I'm going to be doing something a little bit different. I'm going to be showing you some production tips with sampling, specifically sampling with the Maschine MK3. Sampling is just when you take any audio, whether it's part of another song or from a sample pack or from a sample website like Splice or things like that, and you reuse that audio in some new way. This device that I'm using is the Maschine MK3, is a hardware unit that controls software that is on my computer. All of these things are doable inside the software as well. The hardware kind of speeds up the workflow and just adds a different feel. It feels like an MPC or an older sampler device. I like the pads. I like that it has everything I need right on it. So they recently came out with the Maschine Plus, which is a standalone version of this unit. It does not need the computer and the accompanying software. It has it all built in. So I'm going to show you how I sample with just this unit, so that this workflow should also translate to the new Maschine Plus. And so that way, if you're looking at this to figure out how do you sample in Maschine, this will apply to both the MK3 and the Plus that recently came out. There are tons of different ways to sample. There's different software, there's different hardware. There are so many different things that you can do to sample. I'm just going to show you one workflow that I use and that's just quick and something that I really like about this machine that makes it easy for me. We're not going to go through the process of me trying to find a sample. I found a royalty-free thing on Splice. I downloaded it. So here's what that sounds like. Things that I really like in this sample are the bass line and the bell noises, the xylophone, I think it is. Now that we have our sample, there's a sampling tab on here, if that doesn't come up immediately once you load it in. This shows you the sample, and it shows you a couple different options. You can edit it if you want to change the length of the sample, or if you want to reverse it. There's a couple other options in there that I'm not going to get into right now. So we're going to go to Slice. This just gives us a way to spread pieces of the sample across various pads. Under the Slice option, you have several different modes. So the first one being Detect, which is that the software analyzes the audio that's here and tries to make decisions about where you might like to chop it based on the transients and when the audio gets louder. And you can increase that sensitivity to sample smaller things or larger things. Split gives you even-sized slices, whether you want 4, 8, 16, or 32. Grid option will divide it into similar chunks based on the tempo. So it detects the tempo, and then it makes either quarter note, eighth note, 16th note, or 32nd note slices. And the manual option just allows you to make your own decisions about where you want those chops to be. For today, we're going to go into the split mode. And we're just going to assign this to split 16 times, so that way we have one slice per pad. So this is what that sounds like. So yeah, so that's our sample. I like that. So now that we have decided on that, we hit the apply button and we hit OK. And that assigns it to our first pad in group A. If we hit the keyboard button, we now can see everything inside that pad. Now, if we go up top, we hit our plugin button, we can see the sampler plugin that this audio is running out of. So in here, we have several different options. We have the ability to compress, to add some overdrive, a sample reduction button, and a bit crusher or a bit reduction button. I'm not a big fan of those particularly, but they definitely have their uses in some instances. So you also have the ability to filter the audio. You have a low pass filter, band pass filter, high pass filter, and EQ options. I went through this a little bit before as a test. I like this track with about somewhere around 25% on the compression. Obviously, you could add an external compressor and have a little more control over what this compressor is actually doing, but this offers you just a simple one knob option. So we're going to use that, and then we're going to filter it on this track specifically. I like the high pass filter, and then somewhere around the 225 hertz on the high pass filter just kind of cuts out those muddy lows. I like that I can still hear the bass, but I don't have a lot of those sub frequencies that can kind of muddy up a mix as you start to add more things. There are also a couple other options on here. The polyphony option, which is just how many sounds can be playing at the same time. When I'm sampling, I typically just put it on 1. And the point of this is just that when I hit one pad, it cuts off the previous pad. So only one thing can be playing at a time. You just don't have sounds on top of sounds. And just for the way that I sample, that's what I prefer. So the next menu over, you have some pitch and gate options. You can change the pitch of the sound, or you can pitch it down. And you can go as low as down 36 semitones and up 36 semitones. So you have a lot of options. It does speed up or slow down the audio if you were to pitch it up or down. You also have the option to reverse all of the samples. You also have a type button, which you can have one shots where you hit it and it plays all the way through, or some other options where, like, if you wanted to hold it down, you have that option to only play as long as you hold it down. I like one shot personally, but that's just me. Again, that's me for this workflow for this track. With sampling, just like anything else with audio, it is entirely up to your taste. It's up to what feels right for the song, what feels right for the sample, what feels right for you. And so all of this is my specific workflow and just one of the ways that I go through making a beat with samples, not necessarily how everyone should do this all the time. I already preset the tempo just so this can move along kind of quicker. I played around with the sounds a little bit. I'm going to record in a pattern. I am just going to play straight through all 16 of these, just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, so forth. I'm just going to play them right in order. I like this as kind of a loop, but I like to chop it up so that I can control the timing more, and just in a way that feels a little more quantized. And then as I add my drums and things like that, it will all just lock in. The timing will stay consistent. And again, not the only way to do it, not something I do in every song. It's just what I'm going to be doing here to show you some of what the Maschine is capable of and a quick workflow for sampling. So if you hold down the shift button and you hit the tap button, you will turn the metronome on or off. Then if you want to count in before you record, you will hold shift and hit record and you get a 4 count in. The recent Maschine update has changed things so that you don't always have to preset the length of the loop before you record it in. It will learn where you stop and it will set the endpoint there, and then it will loop from there. I don't even have to go in and tell the software how long to record for. I just record till I'm done and then I hit stop and now it loops that. So I'm just going to hold shift and hit quantize just to sync everything up and put it on time. So now we have our pattern. We've played through it. We've listened to it. Everything's in time. And so that's really most of what I'm going to do to a sample. Sometimes I will add things, but that tends to be some third-party plugins, and I'm not going to really get into that today. This is more showing you, if you wanted to use just this Maschine, how quick your workflow can be. The next thing I'm going to do is load up some drums. So I like to put my drums on the next group over, in the B group. And then if you hit the browser button, you can see all of the drum kits available in the software. As you scroll through these drum kits, you get little samples of all of them, so that way you can hear what you're going to get before you load it in. I've loaded in the Trapaholic kit that Native Instruments provides inside the software, and I'm just going to record a drum pattern over top of our sample. I hold shift, I hit quantize, and now it'll link that up with the time, and it should sound good with our sample. There's a lot of other things I'd do from here. I'd start adding some bass, some different textures, different instruments, depending on what felt right for the song and what the intended purpose of the song is. If there are going to be vocals over it, maybe if there aren't going to be vocals over it, what is going to be there, things like that. I just wanted to show a quick way of working with the Maschine. If you're curious about it, you can really start to build the different elements of a song and move quickly through them and not have to get slowed down by maybe software or different hardware that you need to plug in or prepare, things like that. You can really get a sample in here and start rolling. Load up kits that they provide for you You can make beats right out of the box, just like this. I really like this thing. I love the workflow with this guy. I love the speediness of the workflow. I can just start knocking out a song as it feels right, as I'm feeling my way through it. You can just use this hardware alone, do everything right within this. It just sounds great, and it has everything that I personally need for my workflow to just start adding things. You can drop them in and out as you play it back. And maybe I'll get into that in another video, but this was just me showing you how I sample, what I would do right when I got a sample. I would just mess with it, put a little bit of filtering on it, a little bit of compression, add some drums, and then I would start processing from there, start adding things like bass, other instruments, things like that. I hope you guys like this. Please don't judge my beat too harshly. This was not something to show what kind of beats I make. This is more to show you how I make them. I hope this was helpful if you're trying to decide if you want to use the Maschine or if you're just figuring out how to use the Maschine now that you have one. If you like this video, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button if you want to see more content like this, and let me know in the comments what you think about the Maschine. Do you have one? Do you have a different workflow? Are there different things you'd like to see me show you with this? Thank you for tuning in. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys next week.